Schofield here. Welcome to Royally Unfiltered, the show that takes you behind palace gates like never before. This is where tradition meets truth and nothing is off limits. This week, helping me tackle all the biggest headlines is my heirs and spares co-host, Rupert Bell. Rupert, I know we've talked a lot lately, but it has been a wild few weeks for Sussex headlines, specifically Sentebale. But really quickly, before we kind of jump into the chaos of that, Prince Harry actually speaking for the first time today, kind of on the topic. Can we talk about Meghan Markle's victory lap over selling out with quote unquote within minutes of her jam after hearing reports that Netflix employees that were handling the retail side were already over it. The logistics were crazy. The logistics were a disaster. And additionally, there were reports before the product was launched that there was real concern and literally no idea about how much there was a real need or desire for this product. So now reports in the Telegraph that this is all just a marketing ploy. I sold out quickly because they didn't order a lot of product to begin with. Do you have an opinion there?
I think that's probably the way to do it because there's nothing worse than saying if you're saying it's sold out, then you can accept that on the internet because we quite often see that. It's like, if you're buying a football ticket to go to a soccer match or a football match and it's sold out, you sort of have to say, well, okay, that's it. And then you suddenly might find a couple of days down the line that extra tickets become available. So it sort of keeps you in touch. And it means that, people will be going constantly, probably if they want to buy these products, back to the website. So that will make the numbers look good. I think it sounds, it's an easy thing. It's sold out. So everyone said, well, it must be a success. We will never know the figures, right? We will never get them released. I am
But we
absolutely
but
sure.
we would if it was a success. That's what when I talked to Rita
Yeah.
Panahy last night, she said, you know how we would know if this was really a success? Netflix gave us the figures of their first reality series, the only commercial hit they had. Netflix said X amount of hours were watched, X amount of people tuned in because they were record-breaking numbers. But the reason we are not hearing actual figures is because this is just a marketing ploy.
It is, because she's trying to create interest since the program. And I must admit, the prices seem punchy from my perspective. Okay,
$30 for honey?
uh, look, homegrown honey, even around, I will pay if I go. My local man down the hill where I live has his own beehive. He sells them for about £5 a jar, where he gets his wife to print out a label on a computer and then puts it up there, and you drive past and you can pick up honey from off my hill in the Cotswolds for a fiver. Now that seems quite good value. $20, when probably not sure where these bees have come from that are making this honey.
No, because the Netflix employee said that Harry and Meghan made them sign NDAs.
Yeah.
They
So,
don't want you to know where the jam's being made. They don't want you to know where any of this stuff is coming from.
and the thing about honey, well, as far as I know, if you live in an area, that helps with your hay fever because obviously you're eating honey that's eaten from the pollen of that area. So you build up an immune system. I'm suddenly going out of my depth here,
I
but that's
love
what
it.
I'm told. But I'm told that's why if you live in an area, buy local honey, because that if you where you live, I don't know how many round you live and what the bee population is like round you like, but if you go to a local farm shop or whatever you have near you in LA, then make sure it says it's come from a farmer, then it might help you get your immune system. So if you're going to pay $20 for her honey, I
30,
would want
30, $28.
$30. Okay, more like 25. It's still, I don't know what size jar it is, but I don't think it'll be the biggest jar of honey. That is, that is really, I feel that that's entering rip-off territory. Uh, because okay,
But you can
prices.
save the jar, Rupert, and put flowers in
Oh,
it
oh
or
no,
love
no.
notes.
Oh, but that just took me beyond. Look, what I do with my jars of anything, if I get, because I've got I've got an American wife, and we bring stuff, something over, some nice jars of nice mustard from Massachusetts or something. And then I turn them into, I elevate my red currant jelly by using one of these jars, when I make my own red currant jelly. I sound like I'm a sort of, a new hit, but I have, and I love red currant jelly, but I reuse them. But I would last thing, if I made a love note to my wife, I don't know what she'd do, putting them in one of these jars. Yes, pen holders. I mean, how thick does she think we are?
Yeah, exactly. That's a
I
great
mean, I'm
question.
sorry that's who is reading this and thinking, what is this? I mean, this is just common sense put in some sort of flowery language. I mean, we're supposed to recycle stuff. We all know that. But elevate you reusing them. Well, whoop-de-doo. Absolutely right. I mean, I'm sorry. Maybe I'm missing the plot here. Maybe I'm just tired and emotional and I'm Meganed out. But I don't know. But I just feel that it's all trying to create. Didn't we see an Instagram post of her cooking in her real kitchen with some pretty expensive gadgets in behind, which I imagine she's got at a sharply discounted rate anyway? But the man on the street, if they have to buy some of this cooking products, I imagine they're pretty high end stuff. So she
Wait,
wants
can
us
I,
to.
but before
Yeah,
you move on, can I tell you that my favorite quote under one of the stories about
yeah,
Megan's actual kitchen
yeah.
is this was on page 6. It says, "No one cares about the extremely dated Olive Garden prison with Pottery Barn furnishings."
Well, and I've been into pottery barns. They're everywhere, aren't they? You find them everywhere. I go to one of my moles in Boston, Pottery Barn. They're not over here in the UK, but I
Uh,
mean,
oh yeah,
I
so
mean,
you probably don't know what an Olive Garden is either, do you?
Olive Garden. They're sort of chain of probably. Well, I would say, if I'm going to guess, okay,
Yeah.
is this an educated guess? Olive Garden probably is where you get things like olive oils, sort of products for food
It's like
to
all you
embed.
can eat pasta.
Oh, right. Okay. Fine. Right. Okay. I completely got it wrong. Sorry, dear American viewers. I had no idea. But all you can eat pasta. So it's okay. Right. Well, of course, she does do this all one bowl pasta, doesn't it? Which all chefs are doing. I've seen so many people online doing it. And to saving time, bung products in, bung some water, let it all
Oh,
absorb
wait,
in a way.
well, you've just reminded me of something. She, okay, so we talked so much a few weeks ago about how
Mm,
she lacks authenticity and how that's something that
mm,
people demand today because of things like TikTok and social media.
yeah.
And people really just want to see raw. And one of the things that she was criticized about during With Love Megan was this idea that I was this latchkey kid. I ate frozen TV dinners, yada, yada, yada. And everybody was like, well, first of all, her dad was like, fact check, everybody does.
Yeah.
And that's not actually, you actually had a lot of very expensive lunches and dinners because I took you here, 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 and here, and here are the receipts. But now she's saying that she loves frozen, she has a ton of frozen food in her freezer. Like she says, oh, we eat farm to fork here or whatever. But now she told the New York Times that she has frozen chicken nuggets and a lot of processed food in her freezer for her kids. And I'm just kind of
Mm.
exhausted with trying to keep up with this woman's fairy tale. Like this
Well,
story.
I thought processed foods were bad for you, and if they're trying to a sort of holistic lifestyle and growing everything, I'm
Well,
surely
it's just another example of her
what she should
hypocrisy.
be doing, and maybe she does, is cook a great big batch of something, then freeze it.
I don't even care what she does. Just stop
Yeah.
lying. You either
Well,
are this pursuing this lifestyle or you're pursuing that lifestyle. But the second she is caught in a lie, she tries to get out of it in a different interview, or she tries, she's rewriting history, or she tries to clear up a lie or a misconception in an interview. And it's just like, could you just have any sort of consistency whatsoever? When it also, I don't want to get too far off topic, and I wanted to ask
mm,
you this question within this story. The sold out, thanks
yeah.
everybody, I sold out. Does it remind you at all of the story? or does it remind you at all of the headlines that circulated right at the peak of Meghan's show being destroyed by legitimate television critics? Meghan going, surprise, I got a season two, even though we know she
Yeah.
recorded that at the same time she recorded season one. It's like you said earlier, how dumb do you think
Mm.
we are?
If she's recorded it, done, fine, thank you very much, but that's fine. If it's done, what she should have done is if she was going to do another one, wait till the first one comes out and then think, right, what do we need to do to improve it? How do I make it look more authentic? If she's basically going to regurgitate the style of the first one, then what hope has she got? And then you see the stuff as we talked about with in the kitchen with her mum, and they're surprised by this level of criticism at them. Now, of course, there will be supporters. There's always going to be people who will like the program. I'm not saying there's not going to be, but when you know something is panned, it's a bit like I don't know. This new Snow White movie has been absolutely slaughtered in the press for the way, not not because of all the backstory, the other stuff that's been going on it, but actually it's just a downright bad film, according to the critics, I believe. So that's the problem. So you have to say the critics are not all. They don't want to say something's bad, but if something is not up to scratch, then, don't assume. And Meghan just thinks that she can put something out that we're all going to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker. And then she gets surprised when, as her mother says, some criticism comes in a bit hot.
Comes in
Well,
hot. All
yeah, no,
right.
blow me, or whatever the phrase was. Give it an American twang. And you go, well, you've got to be thick-skinned. We get criticised for doing this program, right? So fine, but I'm not going to, I'm going to say horses for courses. Bearing in mind I'm at a horse race meeting at the moment, so in Liverpool, that's what accepted. If you're going to put yourself out in the public domain, you will have a degree that yes, no one, you're not going to be liked by everybody. Fair play. So if
Right.
someone doesn't like what I'm saying, I'm not going to basically, you know, cry and lose too much sleep of it. I might take it and say, interesting thought. You
Mm.
know, sorry, people keep complaining about my earpods, but I just don't know how to get it sorted out. So sorry.
I'm gonna figure that out for you. But guess what?
Yeah.
Joining us now is talk host and culture commentator Russell Quirk. I'd say he's our reluctant Meghan Markle expert for the day. I
Brilliant.
apologize for that, Russell. Russell, I guess we're kind of talking about Meghan faking it until she's making it. And I feel like she faked it till she made it, and then so made it when she married Prince Harry. Um, wasn't cut out for the job she signed up for because potentially she faked it so hard. And now again, she's faking it until she makes it by claiming she sold out in minutes with this very tiny supply of product. Is there something unethical about it, or is it just so Kardashian that you don't care?
I think normally in commercial terms, this whole practice of, pretending that you've sold out of a product, it's a bit like the old nightclubs of the 1980s that Rupert and I used to go to, where they purposely wouldn't. We did. We're not together, but I'm sure I saw you on a dance floor at Duke's in Chelmsford, Rupert, once. Anyway,
Uh,
those nightclubs wouldn't let you in, right? That was their whole policy, and they wouldn't let you in because it created this fear of missing out, this FOMO thing. So I kind of get the commercial imperative where Meghan and her advisors are concerned. But the problem is, we are talking about Meghan Markle, and she has form. She has form for not being very honest, for being a bit deceptive, and for being rather fake. And of course, look, we are talking about somebody that made her career faking the characters of other people by way of being an actor. So I don't think we should be that surprised, really, I guess, that that form has continued. And I guess, look, if it was anybody else, would it be okay? Are we being hard on Meghan on the basis that, okay, look, she's got a product and she wants to pretend that it's, flying off the shelves? I mean, for all we know, she could have had 5 pots of jam and that was it. And of course, the first 5 pots that, were bought perhaps by, her, I don't know, the makeup artists and the dog walker and so on, creates that impression. But I think because it's Meghan, we are justified, Kinsey, in the whole approach that she has to everything, her and Harry, is very disingenuous. You could even say, couldn't you, deceptive?
I agree. Yeah. I think that because I was saying the other day, I don't have an issue with her. Don't, I don't have any desire to meet her. I don't have any, I don't think about her unless I'm working. But there is something that really gets under my skin about the way that they try to manipulate the media. And my friend that I was talking to was like, it's just that you're frustrated that they think you're so stupid that you would
I think it's
accept that
worse.
as
I think it's worse. So they've tried to manipulate the media to try and become successful, obviously off the back of the royal family, whom they seek to despise, right? So there's a kind of hypocrisy there. But when it doesn't go their way, they then sue the media. So I think, it reminds me of my stepmother, actually. A person, no, it does, a person that actually deep down isn't very nice, but for years and years, she won't listen to this, don't worry.
okay.
For years and years and years, she puts on this mask, this facade of being oh so sweet and oh so lovely. And I think Meghan and Harry have done that. They've spent a long, long time being very performative around their fake caring for others and their fake environmental credentials. And I think what we're seeing, and I'm sure we're going to get onto more of this, we're seeing the mask slip. We're seeing the real Meghan, which is a manipulative individual that wants success and doesn't care who she treads on the way up. And Harry, who's kind of going along with it. But I also think that, he clearly is also an entitled elitist brat, frankly. So look, I don't feel sorry for them at all, and I think they're being well and truly found out.
Ooh, well, let's transition here, but kind of stay on the topic of Meghan for a second as we transition into Sentebale. Rupert, I asked you, we discussed this off camera, but if you don't mind, I'd like to talk about this on camera too. And Russell, obviously, you're involved in this chat, but I am surprised and disappointed that Meghan has allowed Harry to take this pounding in public over Sentebale and has just sat back and continued online to with Gwyneth and continued to push her jam cells after Prince Harry gave up his entire world for her and spent years in vengeance mode, whether it's the Pages of Spare or the Netflix documentary, the docu-series, the first one, the only commercial success they had. Prince Harry gave up hundreds, if not thousands, of friends, tradition, culture, his homes, these safe places he's had all of his life, the only safe places he knew, relationships with his family to defend her. And for the last few days, as he's been absolutely destroyed, I think probably rightly, like you said, I think that they're being found out. Meghan has just been like, buy my stuff. Oh my God, please just buy my stuff. And I'm like, it blows my mind when we've seen everything Harry's given up for this woman. What were you saying to me off camera about it, Rupert, or rephrase it if you'd like to be politically correct?
Well, no, I just think he has supported her at all times. And the reason we've had Megxit is because he felt his wife was being poorly treated in the eyes and he felt he could have a better life. So he's always basically done things on behalf of his wife. And so whenever, he's tried to defend her. And as we saw in the documentary and everything else, it's been about, right, I've got the love of my life and I will support her and I want to be happy with her. She's basically out for, in the whole her whole thing is I'm the Duchess of Sussex. It's numero uno. And while Harry is having to deal with a lot of he said she said stuff around this Sentebale sort of fallout, major fallout that's now gone in front of the Charity Commission, she's now saying almost like washing her hands of it and saying it's Harry's and a trustee's problems. I don't want to get involved. Bearing in mind that when she was at that polo, there was a lot of fallout from the way that she was treated, people felt that she treated Sophie Chanduka. And you've got to go, she's probably saying, right, I've got to get away and out of it because I was part of the problem in the first place. And that's why I feel it's again, it's she does things on her terms when there's something in it for her. There's nothing in it for her to start criticizing or going at the other lady and the other people within the Sentebale organization. She has nothing to gain personally, and probably, she's now leaving Harry and those trustees to fight their own corner and won't want to get involved, and she can go back to selling a jar of jam, bottle of jam a day or whatever it is. So I don't think she's going to get involved. I don't know whether Russell thinks she should, but I personally don't think she should.
Oh, wow. Well,
I
Russell, when we heard last year about a professional separation, and then we did see Meghan on carpets by herself, Prince Harry go away, I think, to South Africa for a few weeks, and New York, and Prince Harry solo for a while. But then Vanity Fair released an article that suggested Meghan was already trying to shop a post-divorce book about Prince Harry. And then they were tied at the hip at Invictus and making out with each other. And it was all over each other at Invictus. And a lot of complaints about the PDA that was distracting from the heroes that were there competing with one another. Do you think, because we've seen this decline again with Meghan trying to distance herself from Prince Harry, he was in her show for like 15 seconds. Do you think that means anything? And do you think she should get involved?
Well, it's almost a kind of, it demonstrates their different agendas, doesn't it? Harry's agenda, I think he probably means well. I think he's got caught up in the kind of whole Meghan and mania thing, Meghan mania, if you like, and he is trying to do the right thing by way of charity and the good causes that he thinks he supports. She, of course, has a very different agenda, which is one of self-promotion, publicity, and becoming rich. Right, that's what she's always wanted. So I think it was inevitable that we would see, I guess, a division, a conflict as a consequence of that. So I look, and can I just say, if there's any semblance of truth to someone shopping a load of publishers for a book on divorce before even the divorce is kind of, discussed, mentioned, agreed, or whatever, that, if it's true, is an absolutely disgraceful thing to do. What that says to me, if true, is that Meghan's used this marriage, and indeed Harry, as a vehicle. No love, no affection. And I think that, to your point just now, Rupert, are we seeing her not supporting Harry? I mean, I'd like to think that no matter what, my wife would support me within reason, as I would support her. It's a two-way street, right? It seems to me that with Harry and Meghan, it's a one-way street. Harry supports her no end. He gets into trouble. And she distances herself. But when she's in trouble, when she says, hey, there's someone in the royal family that's racist, he doubles down, right? And then goes on, the circuit saying, well, either at first, of course, what Harry said in response to that was, that's true. It absolutely happened. Then remember, a few months later, he said, no, that's not
bias.
Yeah, it's not what we said. So, and this is the guy that has written to various organizations, around, the staff of Buckingham Palace and, various other royal households, charities, and so on, to ask them to publicly send messages of support on social media and via letter for his wife, because he knows that she is not liked. So he's willing to put his neck on the line, to put his head above the parapet for her. I don't see it being reciprocated, which in any marriage surely must cause a bit of tension, mustn't it? I mean, I'd be sitting there across the kitchen table one morning saying, hey, I'm getting a load of flack here, my love, and you're nowhere to be seen. I mean, it has to work both ways, doesn't it?
The other thing is, he gave up everything. He's lost all his friends. So she should have a sense of loyalty to him and be prepared to say, right, you're having a bit of a tough time out of this. It meant something to you. I'm going to help you by trying to give you some encouragement. No, because it doesn't fit her agenda. Her agenda is to try and become a billionaire selling naff products.
But how do you distance yourself? If you're in a marriage, right, by definition, you are as one, really. And okay, you have your own personalities and your own views and opinions. But did she really think that she can distance herself from not only her husband, but one of the most famous men in the world? I mean, if she really thinks that she can distance herself when he gets into hot water, and we're going to think, oh, that's just Harry. That's a problem for him. It's nothing to do with Meghan. I mean, she's even more naive than we thought, or maybe not naive. Maybe she genuinely thinks that the rest of the planet are idiots.
Yes. Yeah. That's where I kind of lean. But, I thought that this kind of relates to a quote I saw. I think I saw it in either Page Six or the Daily Beast, but it was about Harry and Meghan's frustration with the Heritage Foundation continuing to push this visa immigration case because they said Harry and Meghan had worked so hard to develop a squeaky clean image, and the continuous headlines surrounding Prince Harry's drug use jeopardized that. And I thought to myself, this man put it in a book a few
That's a
years
contradiction,
ago
isn't it?
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
world to see. What do you? I do see Meghan trying to create a squeaky clean image. Do you think, Rupert, that she has successfully done that?
Uh, I take it all with a pinch of salt,
Yeah.
because we know it's a plan, it's a image. She wants to create this. I'm something you all should aspire to. Isn't that the whole point of her lifestyle as ever program? Or to it's to say this is how you should live. You need to live like me in my Montecito 16-room villa. That's what you should aspire to. Well, let's be brutally honest. Most people are trying to work out, right, where can I go and get my food? I'm happy just to make sure I'm paying my mortgage weekly. She is this aspirational lifestyle. Yes, we know that's what all these things are about. And you go to shops, all that might just elevate, as she says, but she's taking us for right mugs, I think. And she wants to take. She's not underestimating. She believes her way or the highway, and
And
she
Russell,
believes her.
oh, go ahead.
No, she just believes her way is the right way, and not that I see it.
That's the truth. Russell, does the Sentebale scandal, along with the Heritage Foundation chaos, does that negatively affect Meghan's aspirational live like me brand?
Completely, 100%. And on the basis that Harry and Meghan come as a package, yes, it does. So although the flak is being aimed at Harry here, he's apparently the racist misogynist, according to some quarters. Of course, she's affected. I mean, that image, which we've all seen many, many times, of the trophy giving at a polo match, where Meghan kind of literally with literal sharp elbows, pushes everybody to one side so that she can hold the trophy to ready to present it. And of course, Dr. Sophie comes along and thinks, well, hang on a sec, this was organised by my charity. I think maybe I should be in the picture. That image, if ever there was the epitome visually of how to sum up and characterise Meghan Markle, particularly when it comes to this particular charity issue, it's that image, that 20 seconds of footage that shows that she only thought it wasn't about the charity. It wasn't about anything other than it being the Meghan show for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes that she was on stage. But the way that she brutally cut out Dr. Sophie, and Sophie, as we saw, beautifully kind of crouches down and pushes her head up, almost between Harry and Meghan to say, no, I'm going to be in this picture. I mean, that in itself was damaging, I think. And I think, look, do we believe that Harry could be difficult? Could he be moody? Could he be elitist? Could he be self-entitled? Could he be, in some way caustic? I mean, absolutely. And I suspect, look, here's the thing. If Harry wasn't like that, then living with Meghan Markle for the last few years has probably made him a bit more like that, don't you think?
Wow. I felt that in my core. Rupert, Prince Harry described the recent developments when it comes to the Charity Commission, saying that they are going to look into this as heartbreaking, stating that blatant lies have caused harm to those who have dedicated years to the organization's mission. Can Prince Harry come back? Knowing what we have heard about Sentebale more in the last 2 weeks than we've ever heard about this charity in our lives. If Prince Harry were to return to the charity, will Sentebale ever recover from the drama in the court of public opinion?
This is a problem for the charity because at the moment, yes, they want to carry on good work, but the kind of money they need to be seen to be beyond reproach, and that everything, they're doing good work and they're able to raise money without any sort of PR fallout. And this is just, there's an element at times of he said, she said, and it's a back and forth about who is right. I don't know for 100% sure. None of us do. But at the same time, you feel that one of the accusations against Harry and their team was that they he was damaged goods. He's damaged goods, and it's hard to sell with Harry as part of the trustees, knowing that he's a bit damaged. And people want to feel they're associating with people who are a success. And Harry's life does seem to have shrunk and doesn't have that sort of joie de vivre. When you saw him before with Sentebale, he was passionate. He enjoyed it. There was a smile on his face. He could see there was a sense of purpose. Now it's all done with a slightly snarly, snarky smile. It doesn't feel done. It's done all for the wrong reasons, and that's maybe one of the things that Sophie Chanduka has been alluding to, that it's not able to function as a normal charity anymore. But at the moment, the Charity Commission are going to look into it, and hopefully they can get to the bottom of it. And yes, there are accusations that maybe Dr. Chanduka has spent 400,000 with consultants, but she was trying to find a way, maybe, to ensure that we can get the kind of money that we need, and they should be able to, and probably have told them, look, you need to reevaluate the way you're operating. And that probably might not have sat well with Harry and his fellow trustees, who then went off and are now adding to the fire between both sides.
Yeah. Russell, did you have anything to add to that before I transition to Prince Harry's security drama?
Yeah, I did. Look, we should remember that really at the core of the problems with this charity is the fact that Harry was seen as an obstacle to fundraising because of his poor image, and I think, look, that might be uncomfortable for him. It will be uncomfortable for him, but that's a fact, and I think that's what Dr. Sophie's concern was, that he was hampering their ability to raise money for a good cause. But the final thing I'd say, let's just think about this for a second. This charity was set up by Harry's mother, so Diana,
set up to honor her.
To honor her, yeah. So Diana, Princess of Wales. Imagine what she would think right now about Harry and her daughter-in-law's tenure over this debacle. I mean, she will be spinning in her grave.
I think that it would have been a constant spinning. It's a consistency. She is dizzy at this point. Okay. There is so much chaos that surrounds these two. And I think all the time there's no way Diana would have put up with it, because Diana was problematic. I love her, but she created a lot of chaos within the British royal family too.
She kept the public on side. The public loved her because she was also very authentic, Diana.
Yes, which is something Meghan lacks. Go ahead, Rupert.
Oh no, Diana knew the time of day about playing the media. There's no two ways about it. But she had kept the court of public opinion on side, as Russell has alluded to, and that was extremely clever, because when the divorce was happening, you turn out in that, the dress and do everything just basically to, and then people saying, look at me, what's Charles missing now? She knew exactly what she was doing, but she will be deeply disappointed that her son has got himself embroiled in a really unseemly war of words. And, I think she will be bitterly disappointed, and perhaps would like to give him a clip round the ear roll and say, this is what you need to do to restore public credibility with certainly the British public, and maybe wider afield.
Maybe he should go and see a clairvoyant and have that message rammed home.
They do. I heard that Harry and Meghan do.
Oh no, please, no.
Yes,
no,
and
Are you kidding?
I've said this before, and I'll say it again, even though I know that my friend will be mad at me. But one of my friends who knows Beatrice said that Beatrice told them that she overheard Meghan at the last Jubilee they were at. She overheard Meghan tell Prince Harry, Beatrice, that Diana spoke to her while she was doing yoga that morning, and Diana was really glad that they were there.
Okay, well, I if you say so, Kinsey.
I'm not saying it happened.
Wow.
But you've left Russell and I speechless with that bit of news, because you just throw that as a throwaway line, and now look, it's come back at you with a.
No, but guys, now I want to know what Diana actually said. She probably just said, "Look, would you sod off?" I mean,
Leave me to my own devices. Anyway, we're going down. I guess anyway, it's gone surreal.
It has. It
Yeah,
has. It's a
that
little too
happens.
spiritual for me, but let's quickly this will be our last story. Thank you so much for your time for both of you. But speaking of Diana, Prince Harry does utilize his mother's death as an example of what he's trying to avoid. Especially when he talked about the near catastrophic car chase in New York, he is still continuing to fight the Home Office for publicly funded police protection during his visits to the UK. That's going to be reviewed by the Court of Appeals. This is happening next week. It's this entire campaign has cost him, I imagine, over $1 million because a judge ruled against his claim back in February of last year. Rupert, I know that you're pretty heavily invested in this story. You've been covering it for a few years now. Ravik has always said police protection is an option based on the circumstances. Why is that not good enough for Prince Harry?
That is one of the million-dollar questions, because he would not be allowed to come to this country without a degree of protection, because his whole situation, forget the fact that they've had Mexit, but it would just have to be, because he has put himself in, and he is a member of a high profile family. Remember, they even tried, Princess Anne back in the day. It's not beyond. So I think at times this feels like a convenient excuse to then say, I can't bring my children and my wife here because it's easy to hide behind the security thing. Yet the next moment they're off to Nigeria and Colombia. So I think because our security forces do try and do a pretty decent job about protecting the royal family, politicians, you name it. And so I know he wouldn't be left high and dry if he wanted to come here. And so I do think, and that's why I don't understand why he feels the need to, basically fund a lot of lawyers, which seems to me what is happening. And the only people winning out of this are lawyers, because I'm sure if he said he wanted to come here and gave plenty of warning, he'd be afforded and his family the necessary protection.
I feel like he's keeping his fingers crossed that this stays the way it is for the next 2 years, so Meghan has a justification for not coming to Invictus Games when it's in the UK. Although I don't know how welcome she is anyway.
It does seem odd, though, doesn't it, that he really has little desire to come back. He only seems to come back for court cases, ironically, rather than coming back otherwise. That he's kind of pushing for something that is almost an academic win. It makes me wonder, Kinsey and Rupert, if this isn't really about security, but it's a little dig at the establishment. It's a little attempt by him to win a kind of battle. It's kind of phone hacking Mark II, where it makes him feel maybe powerful and relevant again. So I wonder if it's as much about that as it is protection. My honest view, though, is that notwithstanding the fact that you would imagine that the royal family, all members of the royal family, are targets, and therefore there should be an element of protection. I'm afraid Harry decided to formally opt out of the royal family. That was his decision. He decided to do that for his own reasons. And I'm afraid you can't have it both ways, as they say. You can't opt out the royal family, then expect all the benefits and bonuses and privileges of that, particularly if you're in the United States, and then also act up as he does in such a way as to antagonize a large swathe of people, to actually arguably make himself even more of a target, and then say, well, I think that the British taxpayer, to which he pays nothing, by the way, he's not a contributor as far as I'm aware in terms of taxation. He expects me and Rupert and the rest of us that pay tax, bearing in mind we're under the cosh as it is in this country in terms of where our tax dollars go, he expects us to fit the bill. I'm sorry, not going to happen. He's got enough money now from his Spotify and Netflix, and presumably from selling Meghan's jams at great pace. He's got enough money from his fruit spread or whatever it is to pay for his own bloody security.
Hey, Rupert, rumors suggest this particular pursuit is one of the reasons the king keeps his distance from Prince Harry, fearful that something he says to his son in private might end up announced in court. That, because correct me if I'm wrong, but Prince Harry is suing his father's government. Do you think if this all does end, that it gives the king reason to welcome Prince Harry back into his space? or if this all ends has too much damage been done.
I think the problem is the trust breakdown between various members of the royal family and Harry and Meghan is enormous at the moment, and it needs some serious, gentle rapprochements over time. This will not happen overnight because there is this constant fear that they will want to put their side of the story out if it doesn't go the way they want it. But Harry's not going to take a lesson at the moment because he's got his wife in his ear, even though she's not publicly saying anything and defending him, but she will be in his ear, and he feels emasculated from that side, and he's been cut off from his family till this is resolved one way or another. And they show a real willing and to do it without publicity, without funfair, bring the children back, meet the king and the queen and everybody else, but I'm not holding my breath. And at the moment, I think he's hiding behind this because it's a convenient way to not be coming back and trying to build bridges with his family.
Any last words, Russell?
I just wish the pair of them would go away. No, seriously, I do. I just think, look, that they've attempted to make money out of the royal family, even though they're dissing the royal family. They're very anti-British, actually, in terms of their attitude towards the royal family and indeed the government. Look, they're more than entitled to make a flop of a Netflix show here and there and to produce something that remotely passes as jam in this country. You can do that, that's fine. But I just wish that they would wind their necks in terms of their kind of public persona and this pursuit, this enthusiasm, this kind of manipulation to not only remain famous, but to do so on the basis that they are trying to tell us how lovely and virtuous and proper they are. And they are none of those things. I think that they are manipulative. I don't think they're very nice people. And frankly, who the hell do they think they're kidding? Anyone with half a brain can see through the illusion, the act that is Meghan and Harry. I just wish that they would retreat to their Montecito estate, close the door, cut off the internet, and sod off.
It feels like Prince Harry has. It's Meghan that we can't escape, but reports here are that he's very lonely and rarely leaves the house. Might leave the house to walk the dog, might take a bike ride, but for the most part, he's become a total hermit, which is sad because he was the most lively member of the royal family for quite some time.
He was a party boy. And look, Kinsey, he'll be back, I suspect, in the next 2 to 3 years. He'll have had
2 to 3, wow.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm just hedging. They will split up. He'll come back with his tail between his legs. All will be forgiven. And Meghan, at last, will be forgotten forever. Maybe to, I don't know, appear in Suits Series 19 or something. Who knows?
Oh, my goodness. Did you have anything else to say, Rupert?
If there is a divorce, again, the lawyers will be making an awful lot of money because what do you do with the children? If he comes back to England, I think American law does not make it easy for him to bring his children back. So,
well, those poor kids, Rupert, look, I don't want to, I should be a little bit careful, but I suspect she's the type of person that will use those kids as a little weaponization in that divorce against her about to be ex-husband. We should replay this in a year or two's time when all it comes through.
We'll flag this. We'll flag it. I'll keep it in a special folder. All right. Agree with us, disagree with us. Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. And we're almost to 100,000 listeners. So subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, everyone. And Russell Quirk, thank you. You can listen to Russell on Talk. When he's not hosting, he's a regular guest, and he's very, very funny and amazing. Rupert Bell, the love of my life, co-host of Airs and Spares. I'll see him again on Tuesday.
On Tuesday, as I say, I will have had a week in Liverpool, so I may be tired and emotional, but
right.
Russell knows exactly what I'm talking about. Don't you, Russell?
I'll send you an ice pack.
It is absolutely bonkers.
All right. Thanks for your time today, Rupert and Russell, and I will talk to you both again soon. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
See you later.